What we're talking about here is the idea of using multiple clip groups in combination with each other, stacked on top of each other, layered on top of each other, next to each other, to collectively form some kind of image. In this case, a representational image of this moth, but it could be really anything that you're trying to illustrate or draw, any kind of vector elements that you're putting together. You may have multiple clip groups. And so the idea here is that you get some practice thinking about the construction that goes into sort of organizing an image in this way, and then practice managing that structure a little bit. And once it sort of clicks for you and you understand, oh, I understand how to layer and structure my clip groups and combine a bunch of them together, then you're in a really good spot when it comes to coming up with imagery in this sort of way. So what we're looking at here is, and those of you who are following along with this interactive Illustrator file, you have this layer called Part B Clip Groups in the Exercise 7 layer. And inside that, there is this left side in color layer. And if we unlock that and expand it, you're going to see there's several clip groups in there. So there's one for the lower wing, there's one for the upper wing, for the details over top of the wings, for the antenna, for the body, and so on. Like all of these different components. And so it's a good idea to get into those and just kind of look at them, where's the clipping path and then what types of contents are inside of that path. And know that there's just a rectangle under there, right? So understanding how this is colored and constructed and what's clipping what can make this more clear just to see this kind of example in action. But then to go further, on the right side of this moth, we just have these gray shapes, and these are pre-structured clip groups. And so this is the type of structure that you would establish yourself when you start to do a drawing. But here it is provided already. And then the idea is that you get into it and get some practice manipulating and, adding elements and building out these clip groups with color, with texture, with detail. So if we look at the one that's just called bottom wing, you're going to see there's the clipping path, and the only thing inside the clipping path right now is just this gray. There's just a rectangle back there. And so you can go into that and you could add a flat color. You could add multiple shapes. You could add lines. And beyond that too, you could add so I brought in some photos and just embedded them into my file. And I could take those, for example, I'm just going to position it sort of over where I know I want to clip it to, that wing, find it in my layers, and then I need to bring it into under that clipping path within that clip group. And then I have that photo and I could resize it or, continue to build things on top of it, manipulate it in all kinds of different ways. Same thing with the upper wing. I could resize it up front, or I could clip it and resize it later. I'm just going to sort of try to size it down a little bit here initially. And then I've got the top wing group, so I'm going to just bring that in to there. And so now I've started, just clipping some raster elements inside of this pre-built structure. I also have some other elements down here, so just some lines that I made using curvature tool. They're just yellow. I have some shapes. So, if you look at this element right here, this is just a circular clipping path, and then inside it, there's a few other circles. So you could create that same type of thing by just, layering a few circles over top of each other. I'm going to group them together, bring that up to where I need it to be, resize it, a little bit, most likely, put it into position, and then just take it, and I need to figure out which clip group that's going to go into. So it's going to be the circle on the bottom clip group. So labeling things, always a good idea, makes life easier. And I've clipped it. Now it exists like way over here to the side, so I actually need to select it and move it over to where it needs to go. But there's an example of something you could clip. And then you could, to go further with it, you could say, okay, I want to take these lines, and I'm not just going to put one thing in the bottom clip group, the wing for the clip group for the bottom wing. I'm also going to put like more details in there. So here I have this group currently exists way up above all these other clip groups, but I want to put it in here right on top of where I put that photo image earlier. So adding more detail, layering things underneath a clipping path. So I take that, I stack it right in there up above, and then now I've started to clip in more detailed elements. So you can go in and do this, layer things up, stack things up, add multiple things to a single clip group under a clipping path, and then flesh it out. Do the body, do the antenna, do these little detail areas, and make the other half of this moth come to life, so to speak. Some pro tips here on the screen too that may be helpful to people as they're working away on this.